Okay, so what if learning a new language could literally let you see the future? Not in some metaphorical way, but actually see your entire life start to finish laid out right in front of you. Well, that's the mind-bending premise of Ted Chiang's incredible short story, Story of Your Life. Today, we're going to unpack how it uses a classic alien first contact scenario to ask some huge questions about time, memory, and what it really means to make a choice.
Right from the jump, the story hits you with this incredible paradox. We hear a mother talking to her daughter who hasn't even been born yet, and somehow she already knows her child's entire life story, from this very beginning all the way to a tragic early death. The huge question hanging over everything is how? How is that even possible?
Now, you might be thinking the answer lies in her future, right? But what's so brilliant here is that Chiang actually hides the answer in her past. He builds a story around two parallel timelines that he weaves together and together until you realize they're not separate at all. They're the same story.
So you've got these two threads. On one hand, you have the future, this deeply personal emotional story of a mother and her daughter. On the other hand, you have the past, her career as Dr. Louise Banks, a linguist called in for the biggest job of her life, first contact with aliens. So let's follow both of these paths and see how learning an alien language could possibly let someone see their own future.
Everything, and I mean everything, hinges on the aliens. So let's start there. Louise gets brought in to try and figure out the language of these alien visitors, who the military quickly nicknames the Heptapods. And right off the bat, their bodies give us these massive clues about how they might perceive the world. They have 7 limbs and are radially symmetric, meaning they have no front or back. With eyes all around their body, any direction can be forward. This physical design is our first major hint that their whole idea of reality might be fundamentally alien to us.
The investigation takes a huge leap forward when Louise has a breakthrough. The heptapods don't just have one language, they have 2, and they are completely, totally separate from each other. She calls their spoken language Heptapod A and their written language Heptapod B. To get why this is such a big deal, we gotta look at our own writing first. Human writing is what you'd call glottographic. It's a fancy word, but all it really means is that it's a representation of speech. Our letters stand for sounds, and we string them together one after another to make words. It perfectly mirrors how we talk, and more importantly, how we experience time, in a straight, sequential line.
Heptapod B, on the other hand, is semasiographic. It has 0 connection to their spoken language. Instead, it conveys meaning directly through incredibly complex symbols. A good way to think about it is like a math equation or maybe a traffic sign. You see it and you understand the meaning all at once. You don't sound it out. It's a visual grammar.
And this really lays out the difference perfectly. Heptapod A, the spoken language, is sequential, like ours. One word follows another. But Heptapod B, the written one, is totally simultaneous and nonlinear. An entire, complicated thought is expressed all at once in a single, intricate symbol.
And this is where it gets really wild. Louise figures out that a single stroke in one of these written symbols might be part of multiple clauses at the same time. This means that for a heptapod to even start writing, it has to know exactly how the entire complex sentence is going to end. They have to know the destination before they even take the first step. So this completely mind-bending linguistic discovery changes everything for Louise. It forces her to think about not just language, but the basic laws of the universe in a totally new way. Which brings us to the biggest question of all. Okay, but how on earth can a writing system actually change your perception of time itself? Well, this is where Ted Chiang does something absolutely brilliant. He connects this bizarre alien concept to a very real and very strange principle from our own physics. It's called Fermat's principle of least time. So picture a ray of light traveling from the air into water. It bends, right? We've all seen that. But why? Because it's not taking the shortest path, it's taking the fastest one. And here is the paradox. In order to calculate that fastest path, the ray of light has to know its starting point, its destination, and the different speeds of light in air and water, all before it even starts its journey. It acts as if it knows the future.
So this reveals 2 totally different ways to look at the universe. We humans have a causal view. A causes B, which causes C. The past creates the present. Simple. But the heptapods have a teleological view, which is a fancy way of saying it's all about purpose. For them, the endpoint, the destination, is what determines the path you take to get there. just like their sentences and just like that ray of light.
And as Louise gets more and more fluent in Heptapod B, this stops being just an intellectual exercise. Her own brain actually starts to rewire itself. Instead of thinking in a linear sequence of words, she starts to perceive entire thoughts all at once as fully formed symbols in her mind's eye. The heptapod worldview is literally becoming her own.
So what happens when a human mind starts to perceive time like a heptapod? Well, that massive shift brings us full circle right back to that first line, the story of her daughter, and the devastating, beautiful knowledge that Louise now possesses. And this is the ultimate question the story forces us to confront. If you know the future is already written, if you know every joy and every sorrow to come, is choice just an illusion? Does free will even exist anymore? From our normal, sequential point of view, free will is everything. We make choices that create a future we can't possibly know. Our language is informative. We talk to tell each other things we don't already know. But in the heptapod's simultaneous consciousness, freedom is a meaningless concept. If you know the outcome, your motives just align with it. So language isn't for informing, it's for performing.
So what does performative mean? Well, think about a wedding ceremony. When the officiant says, "I now pronounce you husband and wife," everyone there knows those words are coming. The words don't inform anyone of new information. The speaking of the words is the action. They make it real. For the heptapods, every conversation is like this. They speak not to share information, but to enact the script of time, to make what's already written become real. And this is the future Louise sees. She sees the moment, years from now, when she'll have to identify her daughter's body after a climbing accident. Perceiving time all at once doesn't erase the pain. It just means the pain exists right alongside every moment of joy, all at the same time. And that gets to the very heart of her choice. She isn't trying to change the future or avoid the pain. She is choosing to affirm it. She chooses to have her daughter, to live through every single moment of joy, knowing that it's all inseparable from the profound tragedy of her death. It's all one story, one beautiful, heartbreaking, complete whole. And the story leaves us right here. Like that ray of light in Fermat's principle, a life can be seen as a path that seeks an extreme, either a minimum of something or a maximum. Louise knows her destination. She's chosen her route. But what is she maximizing? The joy of her daughter's life or the pain of her loss? The story suggests that maybe, just maybe, they're the exact same thing. And it asks us, what truly makes a life worth living?